Hi guys, and welcome back to Debbie J's Crafting Corner. I'm Debbie, and today we're going to be making a couple of cards using the new Winter Tales, or a couple of die sets anyway, from the new Winter Tales collection from Spellbinders. It just came out for September 2022, and these have got this really cool kind of Nordic design. We've got the Nordic ornaments and the magical deer. I've already cut out a bunch of pieces for this, and first I'm going to go ahead and just assemble the different pieces using the die sets, and then we'll be putting those on some cards. I've die cut out my cute little deer, all the pieces to put those little guys together, so let's go ahead and get those assembled. I also decided to do an extra backing for the main pieces of my deer. Reason for that is just to give it a little bit more stability, make it a little bit thicker. The cardstock that I'm using for the main piece, my colored cardstock, isn't always thick enough. So if you don't feel that it's thick enough for you, you can always add another layer on, and that gives it a little bit more, I don't know, it feels more substantial. And I like that feel on my cards. So I'm just adding some art glitter glue to the back of this. And this design this little image is really, really easy to put together. We've got the main part of the body here. So I'll go ahead and layer that down. Also, when you cut it out of heavyweight cardstock, it sometimes doesn't cut out all or punch out all of the little bits. So now I've got those little white circles behind my deer that I may or may not leave in. For this piece, this is a decorative piece to go on the front of our deer, and I did try cutting this one out of a second piece of cardstock, but it looked like it cut everything through. So what I decided to do instead, and I thought this would probably be easier than trying to piece in all those little dots, is just adhere it to a piece of white cardstock and then trim the edges. This is a pretty simple one to do a little bit of fussy cutting on. Those lines are pretty smooth, so it's not going to be too difficult to cut that out. And you don't have to cut right on the line. I would say try cutting just a little bit into it, just not as far as the decorative pieces are. And that will work perfect. And now you've got green with white instead of it showing that light brown of my deer. I'll go ahead and attach this to my little deer. Okay, and since the face is going to be basically the same, I've got the little head here cut out of some white cardstock, and then I'm going to put some of the brown on top of it, again to give it that little extra thickness. Next, we've got a little decorative mask piece for him. And again, this one did perfectly fine. It gave the shape of the little holes, but didn't cut all the way through. And that is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the front of this and put my green one down. So the little headpiece is going to match the part that's on his body. Okay. And now I can adhere this down to my little deer's face. This die here, which has basically has got 5 little pieces. One of the pieces is this little round one that took me a second to figure out what that was, but that is my little deer's nose. So since I'm working on his face, I'm going to go ahead and add his nose on. I think he is just precious. This piece here is for some fur for the front of our little deer, a little tuft of white. Go ahead and add that on. And we've got a couple little pieces that are for the inside of my little deer's ear and for underneath his tail. And the rest of this is the hooves and the flowers that we can use to decorate things up. So we've got a little tuft of fur here for the little tail. And then the same thing on the inside of our little deer's ears. And that is basically it for the little deer. I mean, you could always add a little anything extra, whether it is beads or Nouveau drops or anything else to help decorate. Oh, I forgot. I need to do his little hooves. And I almost forgot, but we've got a couple of little antlers. I colored these. I cut these out of some dark brown cardstock. I'm planning on putting my deer on a lighter background, so this should look pretty good. Kind of have that contrast there. And I think that is simply adorable. So now I'm just adding the little centers to the center of all of my little flowers here. These are going to go on the antlers of my little deer. I think that turns out super cute. Okay, and now I'm going to place my little deer on my card panel. And I've added foam to all the bits, including some little slivers down his legs. I think I'm going to put him a little bit offset so that there's plenty of room for his little head. Because on his head, I'm also popping everything up. I cut out some little tiny pieces of foam to go behind each of those little flowers so that the antlers will be nice and raised as well. And I left a little bit of foam off of around the bottom of his head so that it can go right in place there. Oh, this is just darling. Now I'm just going to kind of tap down all of those little bits for his antlers. And I think that is super, super cute. I think I'm going to go with no sentiment on this one because I just love the way that it turned out. I went ahead and cut out a bunch of the bits for the Nordic ornaments, and I think I'm going to start off with this. I did cut out several of the shapes, because you do have the shape dies. Got two different designs. One is full and one is rather thin. So I'm starting off with that, and this one is just some white cardstock. I think this was some heavyweight cardstock, and you can also layer these up so that they are a bit stronger too. This would also be a really cool idea to do for some tree ornaments. So I think that would be super pretty. But for this one, I'm just going to make it pretty simple. This is just in some green cardstock. I did the inlay. We've got these inlay pieces that have that pretty Nordic design. I'm just going to go ahead and put this down on my white backing. And most of the bits did come out of the die, which is perfect. I didn't have this first, the one in the center did not, but I think what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take one of the other colors and do an overlay right there. And I do want to pop out this little green bit there because I think what I want to have showing is that white from behind. So I'll pop those out of this piece as well. And just glue this right on top of that piece in the center there. I think what I'm also going to use is a little heart, because there is a heart die. I did wind up using that one. Let me pop that one out. I'm going to put the little red heart there. And when you cut them out of multiple pieces of cardstock, that means you've got a lot of interchangeable pieces, so you can use them on multiples and make a lot of cool little designs for your ornaments. And then you can decide what you want to do to put them on your cards. And I think this turned out pretty sweet. Let me go ahead and put together a few more ornaments. Okay, so what I've decided to do is to use a second ornament shape to back the first. So these are a little bit thicker than they were. Also using some of the bits from the other colors that I cut out. And I am keeping these kind of simple, and you don't have to do any more if you don't want to. I mean, this looks just lovely just as is. I think it was, and I almost left it just that way. And then I decided, I think I do want to add a little bit more. So I'm adding this little blue shape. This is one that I cut out using, again, this die out of a different color cardstock. And I'm going to add a little blue heart up here too to kind of finish off that ornament. But I kind of like all that white. So that I think looks pretty. So there's 2 ornaments done. I decided to add some red to this green one, so you could leave it as is, as I mentioned, or you can do a contrasting color. I'm just adding in the little flowers and leaving all the rest as white, and just puzzle piecing in those little bits. Doing the same thing over here with this one, so we're going to have basically 2 sets of ornaments. And what I think is really cool is these could very easily be used as tags. They are a perfect size for you to add a little note on the back and have them as a decorative tag on your Christmas presents this year. And of course it would match the cards. Okay, so those 4 are done, except I do need to put the backings on these, and of course I do need to add the toppers. So just like I did with my first card, I'm using an embossed panel in white as my background, and I think that's going to be really pretty. You probably want it to be something that's going to contrast with your main images because you want them to kind of stand out. So I am going to add actually 2 ornaments to each card. So I'm just popping the first one down flat, and then the second one I'm going to have up on some foam tape just a little bit in front of the other one, so they kind of have a little bit of a cohesive look. Okay, let me go ahead and add my second ornament down. A little bit in front of my first. And you'll notice that there is no string on these. What I'm going to do when I get finished is I am going to add some string to each of these. I think this one just needs a little bow up at the top, so I will be adding that on after I get everything in position the way I want it. So let me go ahead and do the same thing on my second one. This one I'm going to have the smaller ornament in the front. I love ornament cards. There's so many different things that you can do with these. And it's okay that it's overhanging the edge a little bit. This panel is 3 3/4 wide. So it's going to, we're going to put a background layer and the card base on, so that's going to be perfect. Okay, let me go ahead and add these on with some foam tape to my matting layers. Just add these to the card bases. Okay, so that is going to finish up. Finally, that is going to finish up these cards. So we've got first the one using the magical deer. I think that turned out very, very pretty. And then we've got our Nordic ornaments. I think these are lovely as well. If you'd like to see some more videos where I'm making cards using some Spellbinders products, be sure to check out this playlist. You guys have a wonderful day. Remember, if I can make it, you can too. And I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.